Everybody down! Put! We're going to move on to one of our favorite segments where we dissect R.B.I. baseball lineup. Tonight we're going to look at a really underrated lineup that has a lot of good stuff going for it, and that's California.
Sure. If you're at home on Tecmo Bowl versus RBI.com, run over to the RBI baseball teams page, and it'll drop down to the RBI batting lineups, so you can kind of follow along with the discussion there, because we have all the ratings listed on that page.
The thing that I like most about this lineup, Brad, is the middle of the order. Wally Joyner, Reggie Jackson, and Brian Downing back to back to back. Now, Wally Joyner and Reggie Jackson are two awesome lefties, and then you switch it up a little bit with Brian Downing. They have a ton of power right there in the middle of their lineup, and Reggie Jackson just hits moonshots.
Yeah, one guy that I want to talk about in the top of the lineup, and this guy I consider probably one of the most controversial players in RBI, is Gary Pettis. Now, the reason being, Gary has pretty good speed. His speed rating is 140, which is not elite, but it's basically at that next level. And he's a lefty, so he can kind of slap that lefty hit to the left side of the infield and get on base. Now, typically, I'm going to tell the listener at home that you want the most powerful bench guys to be brought in at the top of the order so they get the most at bats. But there's just something about Pettis and the way he fits in this lineup that I just cannot take him out. I got to leave his speed in there.
What I like about him is he seems like he's faster than he actually is. He's one of those guys that if you slap the ball to the left side and the defender doesn't make a clean play on it, he's going to be safe.
Even if he hits a weak ground ball, and actually in some cases, even if he hits it right at the shortstop, if it's deep in the hole, he's on.
If you're a baseball fan today, normal, Major League Baseball fan, think Juan Pierre. That's the guy who Pettis kind of reminds me of, and he's a guy who again can take advantage of pitchers in late innings when it's harder for them to keep up with runners who are trying to steal on them.
Yeah, as a pitcher in the late innings, as he wears out. And Pettis, he's pretty decent at stealing bases, but you get a pitcher in the late innings who's kind of run out of gas and he's only able to throw in the 70s. That opens the door for Pettis to swipe second base pretty much every time.
And again, one of the reasons why the main reason he's controversial is because a lot of people take Pettis out. I happen to be one, and Brad happens to be one that usually leaves him in, however.
Yeah, and then Doug DeCinces.
Or as I like to call him, Doug DeCenzo.
Or DeCinco de Mayo, whatever. 885 power rating. That's a guy that's he's above your average power hitter. He's kind of borderline dangerous. He's a guy that you really have to be careful around.
Yeah, especially with the bats coming up in the lineup. A lot of, you don't really think of him. He's one of those guys that you kind of excuse in your brain and don't really think much about. And that's why he's so dangerous, is because all of a sudden you kind of groove a pitch to him, when you're thinking ahead to Wally Joyner and Reggie Jackson, and next thing you know, he's hitting a moonshot over the scoreboard. So
yeah, and then Joyner comes in third, comes to plate third, and he doesn't have a really his power rating doesn't strike you as a very fearful batter, but the fact that he's a left-hander, and he is kind of lurks around that average power hitter range, but definitely a solid guy.
I personally love this guy because I think I hit a home run every single game that I'm California against you, so I kind of love Wally Joyner. He's awesome. Plus, I love lefties. Lefties are my big thing, and if you put a powerful guy as a lefty and you put him in my lineup, I love that dude. So I love Wally Joyner.
We don't need to spend much time on Reggie Jackson, one of the elite players in the game.
Beastmaster status, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and Downing offers pretty good support of Reggie Jackson. If you want to walk Reggie, Downing is he's a formidable batter that you would have to face. Now, where we really amp up the California batting lineup is we take out Bobby Grich. That's where we bring in Rupert Jones.
And Rupert Jones off the bench, you're talking 891 power, and then you add, especially when you add that initial boost that all pinch hitters get, that 64-point power boost that you get the first time that pinch hitters come in. Rupert Jones is Beastmaster status as well.
His first at bat, he is one of the elite batters in the game.
So imagine this, trying to get past Doug or Doug DeCenzo. And then you go to Wally Joyner, then you go to Reggie Jackson, then you got Brian Downing, and you think you got it easy, and all of a sudden this dude comes in that's, hitting 950 as their power rating. And again, he's from the left side. Yeah.
Exactly. And then coming in there at the 7th spot, Dick Schofield. Not a big name at all, but 861 power. That puts him in the average power hitter range. Now Bob Boone, the 8-hitter, 831 power.
Take him out.
Yeah, definitely not a very good bat.
And there's multiple routes you can take here. Usually we put in George Hendrick into that spot.
Indeed, yep.
Because he's got a little bit more power than the other two guys, Burleson and Wilfong. And he has a tendency to hit some shots out to left field. So
yeah, and he with his first pinch hit at bat, he does have a pretty nice power rating.
He kicks him over 900 for his power rating on the initial. So
yeah. And then one thing we really haven't touched upon is California. They do have a pretty nice balance of right-hander, left-hander bats. So you get those two lefties with Joyner and Jackson in the middle there. But then it's like pretty much every other hitter you can have a lefty up there for most of the lineup.
What I really like about their bench is they have one of the few benches on the game where I don't really mind. I don't really think there's a ton of drop off between any of these four guys. Like, I'm not afraid to bring any of these four guys in at any point if I need a pinch hitter. Obviously, Rupert Jones is the class act there, but the other three guys are really serviceable and really guys that you don't feel bad about bringing in a game.
Yeah, and then the thing I like about Rob Wilfong is, he's a tick below Hendrick in terms of power, but when you add in his pinch hit bonus, there is a handful of guys that he can come in and give you that power surge for late in the game. So if you have to pull Pettis in the 8th or 9th inning and put in Wilfong, that's an upgrade. And then other guys. He's definitely an upgrade over Wally Joyner, who's also a left-hander, but he's also an upgrade over Brian Downing. So, if you get in a situation where Downing's up and you don't like the matchup, you can bring in the lefty with more power. So, Wilfong gives you that.
And again, since I love lefties, that's a great call.
And then Burleson, his power is kind of lacking, but when he gets his pinch hit power bonus, he's a formidable player, and he's definitely a great substitute for when the pitcher comes up.
I'll tell you what, I know that he's, his numbers might not be the best, but he's one of those guys who always seems to get like a huge hit on you. He's a guy who always seems to like get a huge key R.B.I. against me. He's one of those guys I hate to see come up against me in the game.
Hopefully people will kind of realize that California's lineup is maybe better than what they thought it was. And really, if I think of lineups that are better than California's, I can probably come up with only about 3, with Boston, National League, Detroit. American League might be in the conversation.
That's probably a push, actually.
Yeah, but with American League has the elite hitters, but from top to bottom, Cal offers a lot of problems for pitching staff.